Hello, it's Mr. Rio here, and I decided to record a new version of the tutorial for the workbook you're currently doing this week in Excel, which is our workbook 2, or you might name it 2B if you already had a 2 from the previous assignments, where you could either combine them into one workbook or into two. So either way, we're going to get started here, and I'm going to share a screen. Um, to get going here on our Excel. Now, I already told you that Excel, for what we're doing so far in this unit, you can use the online only version of Excel. You can also use the Windows version of Excel or the Mac version of Excel. They all look virtually identical. There's a few minor differences, but they're very easy to figure out. I just opened up here and I'm going to make the view bigger. There's a slider in the Mac version. I assume the Windows version also has a slider down here in the bottom right. And the online version has a plus or minus you click on, so you can do that. And then if you're in the online, you click, here's the apps for Office 365. You got Word there, you have Excel, PowerPoint, and so forth. So if you want to use the online version of Excel, that's what I'm using right now. You do not have to. You can just simply use or close out what I don't need here. Okay, so that should work out pretty good. You can use the Windows version or the Mac version, because it's going to look all about the same. And sometimes the reason things look different is it depends how wide you do your screen. Notice when I bring it narrower, it combines a whole bunch of stuff together, adds other menus and stuff. And when you drag it wider, it makes it more stretched out and probably easier to work with. Okay, so I'm going to go about this wide here. I'm at 150%, so everything's a little bit bigger. Now, one thing I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis on is that the formatting. That should, first of all, we covered it, and second of all, it should be common sense. If a column is too wide or too narrow, you should be adjusting it. Okay, and you definitely don't want this. See, when you get these numbers like that, that means the column is too narrow to even display the number. So if you get any of that, you definitely got to make it wider. Okay. Um, Stuff like this here, you can click center, bold. I added a color. That's optional. You don't have to do a color, but you can pick a color and do a color there if you'd like. For this one here, for bank account summary, I'm not too picky. If you leave it here, you do emerge and center. But if you want to do emerge and center, you can click like there, for example, drag it across. Usually it's right here in the middle, merge and center, and that merges the cells and centers that. I'm going to do the same thing here with summary. We're going to click there, drag across. Notice I typed them in the first cell, and I'm going to click up here. Now, another thing is it doesn't matter to me. Like I skipped row 1 and I started in row 2. So I'll start in A2 and then A3. Maybe you start in A1 and A2, not a big deal. Or maybe you start in A3. So if you are slight row or column off of me, not the end of the world. Just make everything relative to wherever you start. Okay, we skipped a row there. You notice on this row here, we didn't put anything there or there. So we did one row where we just did account beginning and ending. And then we did another row where we put in deposits and draft in there. This here should be currency formatted. So can hit currency there. By the way, if at this point what you're looking at, you have not typed any of this in yet, this would probably be a good point to pause near the beginning and type it in, because if you're trying to type this when I'm doing a tutorial, that'll be pretty difficult to do. So you should have all this typed in up to this point and do basic formatting first. And then I'm just going to go quickly through the formulas and functions, because that's really what this lesson here is about. Okay, so I'm going to move along here. First, with each first to name this, you just double click the down here, and then if it's the Windows or Mac version, you can type it in here. But on the online version, it brings up this little box here. I named the first one bank. Okay, that's a good name for it. Excuse me. This is my third time making this tutorial today. I won't go into the sad stories of what happened the first two times. I'm trying to use Zoom to record it. You get this nice little window up here of me, and it usually does a nice job recording. Except one of the times I was in the middle of recording, the internet went out. And even though I'm not really teaching this online, it still knocked out my recording. So, and the other one was my fault. I had some of the wrong numbers in some of the locations, but not the end of the world. Life goes on. Okay. So you always look at each sheet. This is a worksheet or spreadsheet. The whole thing is a workbook that has 5 sheets in it. So you always stop and think, what is this about? What am I doing? That's usually the biggest problem students do. I've seen students do some amazingly nonsensical things. Like, for example, here's account numbers. This is bank accounts. Okay. See that? Here's account numbers. These are the number they give you for like your account. This is not a dollar amount. I've had students highlight stuff like this and make it currency. Made no sense whatsoever. They just obviously were not thinking about anything. And then usually students like that screw up the whole assignment because they're not thinking any logic at all. Excel assignments like the ones we're doing here are very simple if you think through them logically. There's the account numbers. You notice this has been centered there. Not these, but over here. Now, the beginning balance, that's how much money is at, we're going to say this beginning of the month. So that's how much was in the beginning of the month in each account. Deposits is how much you put into the account. Okay, put money into the bank. Drafts is how much you took out. Did you go to an ATM, use a debit card, write a check? You took money out. So first thing we're going to do is just a real simple formula up here. I'm going to do a lot of these formulas manually so you can understand them better. I'm going to put an equal sign. All formulas have an equal sign. We're going to start with the beginning balance. Notice I clicked on there, so it put B8 automatically after my equal sign. You could just type B8. That would be fine too. Now, first thing we're going to do, we want to, as we start moving toward the ending balance, we want to add the deposits. So I do a simple plus, and I click on there, and now I have B8 plus C8. So we take the beginning balance, we add with all the money we put into the account. But we're not done. We have to do a minus and take out the money that we took out of the account. So we click on that one, which is for me D8. For you, it might be slightly different. So I got B8 plus C8 minus D8. And that is the starting balance, how much money we put in, how much we took out. I hit return, and there's the ending balance for the month. Now, if you want to double check your formula, you can click on there, and you have to go up to the formula bar up here, and you can edit it up here. If you did something wrong, you can edit it up here. And then if you edit it up here, you hit return, and then it'll make an adjustment here. If this is correct, you don't have to do this for each of these. You just click the little tab on the right here, drag it down, and does a simple fill down. Saves you a lot of time, very simple. Okay, now down here, what are we doing? We're doing a simple adding. This goes back to our sum function. Now this one we can do the real simple way. We can just drag it like that, leave the last one empty, that's where it's going to go. Go up to what looks like our Greek letter E and click on it. And it automatically, if you click on here, it does a sum, got equal sign, sum, and it does arrange B8 to B13. Now it knows B13 is empty. So technically, we really want to add up B8 to B12. Now, the B13 does not hurt anything. It does not change the outcome. But if you want to get picky, you can go up here, click in there, and change your 13 to a 12. And that will give you probably more accurate formula or function. Now, if you double check this and this seems to be fine, it added up the beginning balance. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. And you want to add this up and add this up and add this up. You can just click here on the handle and drag it across, do a fill right, and there it is. You got the entire bank assignment completed. Very, very simple. Okay. Now the second one, average. Go ahead and double click and name it average. While you're doing that, I'm going to make mine bigger here so you can see it better. Okay, now this would be a good point if you haven't typed it in yet to pause my little tutorial here and type that in. Okay, type. Okay, now you're all set to go. Now, again, I'm not going to review the centering and formatting and making columns wider if need be. Chattanooga's kind of long. You probably got to make that wider. That's all common sense. That's all stuff you should know how to do. Centering this, Okay, all simple stuff. Now all we got to do is do averages, which is the average function. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to put an equal sign as all functions. Functions are formulas, so all formulas have to have that. And I'm going to type, you got to do the entire word average. Now notice when I start typing, this comes up. So I'm just going to double click on average there, and it doesn't have to be capital, but it makes it capital. It starts your range with a parentheses, but of course I haven't done the range yet. Now I can manually type B6 to B10, or I can just drag like this and get the same thing. So it's got B6 colon B10. Now I have to type the ending parentheses. Okay. So I got equals average B6 to B10. So what it's going to do is going to average those cells. Now you probably remember from like fifth grade math or third grade math or wherever you do averages that you add up the numbers. Let's say there's 5 of them, and then you divide by however many numbers there are. So if there's 5 of them, you divide by 5. If there's 6 of them, you divide by 6. And that's how you get your average. So the average function does that automatically. So if you double click and double check and your average function looks perfect, it's like, that's exactly what I want. Hit return, and it puts the average up there for these high temperatures. And then we're going to click on that. We're going to drag this over a little bit, and it will do a fill right. So it'll put the same thing here, except for these cells. It automatically adjusts for the column. So we got our average high temperature, our average low temperature for, looks like Tennessee, okay, for these cities. Pretty simple. There's 2 done. Now we're going to click on sales. Again, I'm going to make this a bit bigger and scroll over here. And okay, I already made that currency. You should know how to do that up here. Okay, and I did some bolds here. I made some columns wider. That's all common sense stuff that you guys should know how to do by now. Centered some things and stuff. So what do we got going on here? We have these salespeople. They work for some business, some company. These are the weekly sales for each salesperson. Okay, the dollar amounts. Now we want to do 2 things down here at the bottom. We want to know how much was the total sales for the week, and what is the highest sales? Like what was the highest number for one of these people? So we're going to click here and do the sum function, except this time I'm going to do it entirely manually. Okay, so I'm going to type sum. I will equal sign sum, put a parentheses, and I want to do it B6. I put a colon, and then I want to do it down to B13. And then I put another parenthesis. So I did that entirely manually so you can see what it is. Okay, so you're not just clicking buttons and don't know what's going on. Now you can also see it up here when you're putting in a formula. Functions are a type of formula. So if I say function, I mean it's a type of formula. So that's going to add these here up. That's exactly what I want for the total sales. So I hit return. There's my total sales for the week. Okay. Now the next one's going to be what we call a max function. Max, short for maximum. We want the biggest number of that range. So we're going to click here. We're going to put an equal sign. We're going to put max. I could start it with this, but I'm just going to make my own parentheses. And I'll put the same range. So it'll be B6 colon B13. Okay. And we're going to double check that. That's max. It's going to do the biggest number of this range of numbers here. We're going to hit return, and it put 7,325. Where did that come from? It came from this guy here. I assume guy, could be woman. I'm not sure. Mancini, 7,325, the biggest sales for the week. That's it. So that's sales. You can name that sales if you haven't done so already. These are not in order. Okay, there, I just fixed it. You can slide these in different order. Next, I'm going to do mileage. And if I did these slightly out of order, what they on the original sheet, you can, I'm not real picky on the order here in the middle. Do the if function last and the bank first. Okay, mileage. Okay, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. And again, I'm not going to do the formatting, but I centered here. You got some bolds up here, you know. Okay, so this is this spreadsheet here is all about driving distances from Miami, Florida to all these cities right here. So we want to know the shortest one and we want to know the longest one. That's going to be a min function and a max function. We're going to click here, put equal sign. The shortest distance is going to be a min. Now, what I'm going to do here to save me a little time, I'm going to start here. I'm going to drag this range here and let go. And something went wrong. It did not like something. Maybe because well, when you come up here, and I'm going to try it again, it still didn't like it. Okay. Not sure why. So I'm going to do a right click and clear that and start over again. Okay, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to do an equal sign and a min. Whoops, I know what probably happened. I made a typo, and then when I wanted to fix it, it deleted part of what I did. I'm going to double click this here. It starts my min. So I got equal sign, min, and I want this range here. And then I want a parentheses. So whether you type it all manually, you use some of the tricks I show you, want equal sign, min, C7 to C13. Again, yours might be slightly different cells depending where you start in that, but that's for the shortest distance. So I hit return, and it's 878, which happens to be the distance to New Orleans. Oh, somewhere in there I deleted Atlanta. So here's what you can do here. I'm going to put in Atlanta with something like 625. I'm going to put that in there, hit return. And I got to fix now my range because my range starts with Dallas, Texas. So I'm going to come up here. This was my mistake, but I'm showing you how you can fix it. I change it to start with C6. I hit return, and now it adjusted it. So if you do make mistakes, they're easy to fix. Just go up here in the formula bar and you adjust your range or whatever mistakes you made. Or if you put the wrong type of function, change a max to a min or vice versa. Now the last one here, I'm going to do an equal sign. I'm going to do a max. We want to know the longest distance. And I want B6 colon B13 with the parentheses around. Now I did the wrong kind of parentheses there. So I had to fix that. Hit the wrong button. Okay, that should be correct now. Equal sign, max, in parentheses, B6 colon B13. That's the range. The range is the, oh, something screwed up because it's not 0. Okay, what's going on here? I did B. I was supposed to do C. What was I thinking there? Well, that's where we go in and fix it. I fix it up here in the formula bar. I hit return. Much better. 2,737. So that's going to Los Angeles. Here's something I haven't shown you yet. I'm going to highlight all these right here. And I'm going to go up here to formatting. We don't want to make it a currency, of course. What happens if we click on number? Well, that puts a decimal. We don't want that. What if we go on to general? That brings us to here. What I was looking for, there is a way you can do it where it would put in the commas. What about accounting? Nope, that does a dollar amount. Okay, I'm on the online version. It's kind of screwy. It's a lot easier on the other version, but there are ways you can do it so you can have the commas in there. But what you do is when you go to it, there's what things that pop up. They give you options. I'm going to go to more number formats and see what this is. Okay, this might be more what I'm looking for. I click on number. Yep, this looks familiar. And then I can have decimal places. I don't want decimal places, so I'm going to make that 0. But I do want 1,000 separator, so I'm going to hit that. Now, if you had negative numbers, they have options of what negative numbers could look like. But I do want that, so it puts a comma in there if it's over 1,000. That's what I was looking for. So I number, no decimals, comma. I don't care negative numbers because none of them are negative numbers. I hit OK. Then I deselect, and that looks a little bit better, I think, for miles. Now the last one, the challenging one, the one that is different. I'm going to change this up to 150%. And I'm going to drag this here and here. And I've already typed this in. If you want to pause it and type all that in, we have people's names. This is about insurance. By the way, any of these you haven't named, you just double click down here and you can type in mileage and if function, sales, average, bank. Okay, so hopefully you paused it, typed it in if you didn't already have it typed in. Have this already in currency format. Got some centered things here, centered, and so forth. Okay, now what's going on here? Okay, we're going to click there. That's where we're going to be putting our if function. Okay, previous, this here, something got deleted here. Updated, I believe it's policy. Not sure how that happened. I must have deleted some stuff and accidentally deleted that. So I'm just going to center that, make it bold. And I believe that's what it was. It was either that or something very, very similar to it. So we have, or maybe update premium. Sorry about that. Updated premium. Okay, so here's what's going on. We have an insurance company. We assume this is car insurance. We have these policy holders right here, and we have the current ages. Now, for those who don't know, insurance policy rates are based on a number of factors, including your age. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have an if function that's going to do a little test. And the test is going to be, is this person under 25 years old? And if they are, they're going to get a premium increase. And if they aren't, they're going to get a premium decrease. Now, the numbers I use here might be slightly different than you see elsewhere. That's okay. I don't care if you use my numbers right now or the other numbers. They're going to be somewhat close and give you an idea how this works, which is the important part. So we're going to click here and we're going to start with an equal sign, as all formulas and functions start with an equal sign. Then it being it's the if function, of course, we start with if. Then we go straight into a parentheses. And now there's three parts. You can kind of see a little thing pop up here. You have the logical test, comma. What if it's true? So if this is true, you have a formula and another comma. And then what if it's not true? Then you have a different formula. Okay, so our logical test is going to be, is this here, which for me is B8, is that smaller than 25? That's our test. Now, notice I put a comma right after that. So the first thing it's going to do is going to go to B8 and see, is this under 25? Okay, simple as that. Now, the first formula is going to be, what if it is? Like, yes, it is under 25. So now we're not dealing with this cell anymore. We're now dealing with this cell. So I click there, which is C8. And if it is under 25, we're going to add 30. So they get a $30 increase over their previous premium. Okay. Now we're going to put a comma. Now we're going to do, what if it's not under 25? We're going to take the same C8, except this time we're going to minus 18. Okay. So they're going to get an $18 discount from their previous premium. Now, last thing we got to do, we don't put another comma there. We don't need one. We're going to put a closing parenthesis. That is the if function. You have equal sign, you have if, and you got three things in the parentheses. You have the test, which is in our case, the age, is it smaller than 25? We have a comma. Then we have, if it's true, we take C8, which is a previous premium, and we add 30 to it. So they get an increase of premium if they're under 25, comma. Then if it's not true, in other words, if they're 25 or older, then we take their previous premium and we give them a discount. They get $18 off. So we get minus 18. And if you see another version of this I made, the numbers might be a little bit different, but the point's the same. Okay, so we put in the parenthesis, we hit return. So Juan Carlos happens to be under 25. He got an increase. Now we don't have to do this one at a time. We just do a fill down. Isn't that wonderful? So we click that. We just click on this and drag it down. Deselect. Take a quick glance and make sure it makes some sense. Phyllis is 25. So you think, oh, should she get an increase or a decrease? Well, she's not under 25. Okay, that was it. We didn't say equal to or lesser than. We said just lesser than. So she got a discount, is 25 or older. Sabrina here is 18, so she got an increase. Jamie or Jame or whatever this is here is 29, so they got a discount. Okay. So I don't know if that's a typo or if it's supposed to be James or Jamie, but I don't care. That's close enough. Okay, so that's the if function. Really not that hard. You can click here. You can see it up here. If you got the test, comma, what if it's true, comma, what if it's not true. Now, of course, the test involved the age, and the two formulas were based on the previous premium. That's it. Now, if you're in a version of Excel you got to save, go ahead and save it. Save it somewhere you can drag it into and submit it to Google Classroom. If you're in the online version like I am right now, you can simply go over here to File, go to Save As. Now this works a little bit different, and go to Download a Copy. I already did one earlier, that's why you see one here. And Chrome in the Mac version, and probably similar in Windows, it comes right here. So I can just simply drag it like that. Okay. And there it is. And this version here, you can't see it because I dragged it out. It's outside this window now, but it's on my desktop. I can just double click it and open it in regular Excel. I can drag it into Google Classroom and submit it. Now, it also is another copy. So if I make changes to the one I dragged to my desktop, that's not going to be here. But that's it. You got if function, mileage, sales, average, and bank. And that's it. That covers a variety of functions. We did sum functions, min functions, average function, max function, and the if function. So that's our one Excel document, one workbook with 5 worksheets or spreadsheets in it. And that's it. So good luck. Hopefully it wasn't too hard. Next week, we're going to be doing some charting and graphing in Excel, which is something else that Excel can do. So everyone, good luck with this. I may talk about it briefly in our Zoom meeting on Thursday, especially the if function for those that may have questions. So I'm going to end the sharing here and end this recording.